E.T. Phone Home. Hello everyone. Once again, another movie review that turns 40 this year is E.T. the Extra Terrestrial from 1982. E.T. was directed by Steven Spielberg, who prior to this directed Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He would go on to direct movies like the Indiana Jones movies, The Color Purple, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and he's directed so many other good movies since then. He also co-produced the film. E.T. was produced by Kathleen Kennedy. It was written by Melissa Matheson. The music was composed by John Williams. E.T. was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, winning Best Original Score, Visual Effects, Sound, and Sound Editing. The movie was released on June 11, 1982. I may be past the expiration date of releasing this video, but what the heck, I'm still reviewing it anyway for the sake of it. The movie stars Dee Wallace, who you may recognize from The Howling, Henry Thomas, Peter Coyote, Robert Macnaughton, and a very young unknown little Drew Barrymore around this time period. E.T. is about an alien who gets left on Earth by accident. A boy named Elliott finds it and becomes friends with E.T. Elliott shows E.T. his older brother and sister. They decide to keep E.T. in secret from their mother. E.T. was one of my favorite sci-fi movies as a kid growing up. E.T. was a cute, harmless character. All he wanted to do was go home because he was left behind by accident by his family. E.T. did not want to kill anybody and did not want to control people's minds. The E.T. design is great. If this came out today, it would be CGI. The opening scene when E.T. is left behind by Earth by accident, the inside of the spaceship that you see briefly, the set design looks almost identical to a kid-friendly version of Ridley Scott's Alien. Anytime I rewatch this movie over and over again, I love it more and more as I get older. There's just something about the bond between E.T. and Elliott that I've always loved, because just when Elliott thought he was a scary alien trying to kill him or suck his brain out, Elliott realized he's a harmless, friendly alien. The performances of this movie are great. Richard Thomas as Elliott is great in this movie. He's like any stereotypical little boy growing up. His father's not in the picture. He's raised by a single mother because his parents are divorced. Elliott has an older brother named Mike and a younger sister named Gertie. Elliott does not seem to have any friends except that girl he kisses at the school. His older brother Mike won't let him hang out with him and his friends, despite his older brother's friends are jerks sometimes. His relationship with his siblings are a little complicated, but once E.T. comes in the picture, his relationship with his siblings improves. The movie has themes on Jesus Christ, like for example, when Elliott cuts himself by accident, E.T. heals him. Ouch. Also, a little spoiler right here. After when E.T. dies, he comes back and risen from the dead, just like Christ. When E.T. and Elliott are becoming one, it's like a kid's version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but E.T. is not a body snatcher. It's like E.T. is cloning Elliott because he's learning about what it's like to be a human being. Elliott's brother, older Mike, is like a brother and father figure to Elliott. It's funny when he does not believe that he saw a goblin. He's making up like, what if it could have been this or that? Elliott responds saying, "It was nothing like that, penis brain." I love the melodrama friendship that Elliott has with E.T. He teaches him life lessons, shows him Earth culture. It's cute, touching, heartwarming, and a feel-good moment. As a little kid growing up watching this movie, to this day, this movie still makes me cry when we think E.T. dies. It goes from a sad moment to a happy moment. E.T. comes back to life. It's hard to describe why something like this still makes me cry to this day, despite I know it happens and seen this movie so many times. Some kids growing up said that E.T. scared them. For me, I was more scared of the part when the government space astronauts invade Elliott's home more than E.T. Another way of describing this movie, it's like Peter Pan. E.T. is a lost alien, meets the Wizard of Oz. Elliott does not want E.T. to go home. He wants him to stay, similar to how Dorothy wanted to go back to Kansas. And the day the Earth stood still, the alien is not trying to attack or kill anyone. He wants to go home. Watching this movie today as an adult, I noticed a lot of Star Wars product placements because of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas's friendship, and Reese's Pieces candy. Originally, Steven Spielberg asked M&M's to sponsor the movie, but they turned him down and thought the film would be a flop and a bomb. And because of this movie's popularity, Hershey skyrocketed and did very well because of this movie. It made Hershey popular because of this movie. On Halloween, when E.T. dresses up as a ghost, he sees a little kid dresses up as Yoda, confused and thinking that he's another alien from outer space. The movie has themes on childhood growing up without a father, and Elliott and E.T. bonding, connecting and understanding what it's like growing without a father. Steven Spielberg said that he based it on him when he was a kid growing up when his parents divorced. But of course, he made up the alien friend part of the story. The film also reflects on the importance of friendship. How friends are always there for each other no matter what, through good times and bad times, always stick up for each other. The scene when E.T. and Elliott fly above the moon, As a kid watching this, I thought that was like one of the coolest moments I've ever seen in a movie in my life. It also has a cool shot of like Elliott and E.T. on the moon. Iconic. And it's used a lot today in like opening like movie titles of E.T. and Elliott riding the bicycle and flying above the moon. When Elliott and his brother Mike and his friends help E.T. get to the forest and run away from the government, before the chase, Elliott explains the plan, and one of Mike's friends responds and sees E.T. saying, "Why not just have him beam him up?" And Elliott replies, "This is real life." A little Star Trek joke right there. Actor Casey Martel, who plays one of Mike's friends, the way he wears the hat and sunglasses and the long hair, he's basically mimicking and mocking, copying, homage tribute to Steven Spielberg look-alike. Whenever I see photos of Steven Spielberg on film set, he wears glasses or sunglasses sometimes, and a hat all the time. The ending to E.T. is great. It's happy and sad when E.T. finally says goodbye to Elliott, his friends, and family, and finally goes home to his family. As a kid growing up in the 2000s, when Family Guy Robot Chicken was popular, they, of course, parody E.T. I remember Robot Chicken parodying spoofing when E.T. goes home to his family. E.T. is back in school being bullied by jocks and gives him the finger after the insult, and they put on the planet where the Xenomorphs planet is. I'm sure Robot Chicken has done other parody skits of E.T., but I haven't seen them. In Family Guy, the Y2K spoof episode, Peter comes out dressed as an astronaut, and Chris yells, "Run, E.T., run!" E.T. storms out of nowhere, runs away. Ah! I don't know which episode, but I remember E.T. wanted to touch and heal Tom Hanks' character from Philadelphia. E.T. does not touch him. Tom Hanks says, "You didn't touch me." E.T. replies, "I don't want AIDS." As a fan of the Netflix TV show Stranger Things, you can tell that the Duffer Brothers had inspiration from E.T. for the TV show, for Mike and Eleven's bond and friendship, and also great like what if scenario, like what if Elliott had fallen in love with E.T. Mike hiding Eleven from his parents in his basement and shows her his toys and other stuff in his room, like his science fair awards, similar how like when Elliott is showing E.T. his toys. In season 1, when Mike and his friends are running away from the government on their bikes, Eleven uses her telekinetic powers to escape the government and authorities, similar how like E.T. uses his powers to fly over the police to get to the forest to go home. But then again, not to get off topic, the character for Eleven was inspired from the Stephen King novel Carrie. As a little kid going to Universal Studios with my family, I used to love going on the E.T. ride as a kid. It's too bad and sad they debunked that ride. It was fun and cool and flying up in the air like in the movie, as if you really felt like you were in the movie in a way. It was also cool at the end of the ride to see E.T.'s home planet and his family that we never got to see or explore in the movie. When doing research on this film and watching the movie and writing my own thoughts on this film, I went on YouTube to search the ride. It was hard to see because of the grainy old footage from like someone who like went on the ride in like either the late 90s or early 2000s. Watching old footage from the ride is not the same as being there back when I was a little kid. In the early 2000s, in 2002, around the 20th anniversary of E.T., Steven Spielberg decided to re-release the film celebrating for the 20th anniversary. I'll also never forget around the time when the film was being released, Toys R Us was doing like a commercial and advertising promoting the film, was selling toys for the film. And also never forget like in that commercial Toys R Us, E.T. sees like little Reese's Pieces of candy. He goes inside Toys R Us and he sees Jeffrey, the big giraffe. And at first he's thinking, Elliott. And he goes, no, Jeffrey with a G, Elliott. And no, read my lips, Jeffrey. That was one of my favorite commercials I used to love watching on TV as a kid of Toys R Us. As a little kid growing up, despite having seen the movie so many times on VHS tape at the time, it was really fun and exciting and cool to go see this in a re-released movie theater, as if I was like going back in time, seeing it for the first time for the experience. I'll never forget one time in like 2015, I went to go see Halloween re-release in the theaters. I'll never forget before the movie started, there was an opening intro with John Carpenter giving a good point about how like, no matter how you've seen this movie, whether you saw it when it came out originally back then, or you've seen it on VHS tape, or you saw it on like DVD, Blu-ray, or through online streaming, the real way to see this movie is in the movie theater for the real experience. Seeing this movie re-released at the time was probably one of my first early memories of seeing a classic movie re-release. But it was not the first time I saw a classic movie re-released in the theater. My earliest memory of seeing a classic movie re-released in the theater was one of the Star Wars trilogies in the theater at the time when I was a little kid, when Star Wars was re-released back in the 90s. Just like Star Wars, when E.T. was re-released, Steven Spielberg released a director's cut and showing deleted scenes that I had no idea existed and CGIing over the police guns with walkie-talkies instead of guns. Elliott showing E.T. water, and it's like he's being reborn again, like John the Baptist. These added scenes are not as bad or crazy compared to what George Lucas did with Star Wars, with Han Solo CGIing. Remember, Han shot first, but that's a different story for a different topic for another future movie review. As a little kid growing up, like watching a movie on VHS tape, nothing was really like bigger compared to like when DVDs and Blu-rays came out, because compared to the VHS tape, the only thing you were able to do was like watch the movie. There was no like bonus features or behind the scene or interviews. Not like until like the late 90s and 2000 when they upgraded from like VHS to DVD, and also in the late 2000s Blu-ray. It definitely like killed VHS tape, because when watching a DVD or a Blu-ray, you were watching like behind the scene bonus features of interviews with the actors, the directors, or audio commentary on the movie. Also like watching deleted scenes that were cut from the film, and it's like, wow, I never would have guessed or known about this as a kid before like the internet at the time, of knowing about these deleted or extra scenes that were cut from the film for specific reasons. Also, compared to like behind the scene footage with like DVDs, Blu-rays, special feature behind the scene footage, it's not like nowadays when like people on the internet go on like YouTube and watch behind the scene footage, or probably like maybe they'll like see the making of the movie and like film it on their phone and stuff, or there's like people like follow people on social medias, like on their Instagram or Facebook page, seeing pictures of behind the scene footage of like the making of the movie or the TV show. Thankfully, Steven Spielberg has confirmed that he's never re-releasing E.T. director cuts anymore, and just re-releasing E.T. the way it was when it came out back in 1982. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there was also like a scene that was cut from the movie that was not shown in the original back in the 80s, in the special edition director's cut, when Elliott's mom is worried that her kids are not home past their curfew. She goes out looking for them. She finds Mike and Gertie, and she asks, where's Elliott? And they cover for Elliott not telling the truth where Elliott is, which I'm really glad that scene was cut, because it's like, was it really like necessary? Because when we see the mother leave the house, we already know without even showing it like where she's going to find her kids, that they're not home past their curfew. It's an example of a deleted scene that was just not necessary, and thankfully they did not add this part in the movie. I remember as a little kid, I always wondered how come they never made a sequel to E.T. They almost made a sequel to E.T. the Extra Terrestrial, where Elliott and his family were captured by aliens, and they phone E.T. to save them. Honestly, I'm glad they never made a sequel to E.T. This movie is a standalone movie and is not sequel material, and was not necessary to make a sequel to this movie at all. Recently I found out in 2019 there was a short holiday movie that premiered around Thanksgiving 2019, which I still have not seen yet. So that was my review of E.T. the Extra Terrestrial. Hope you liked the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell to get the latest updates on my YouTube channel, and I will see you next time.